So why do we see gangsters eating all the time in movies? Since the beginning of the gangster movie genre, food has always been a big part of it.
When you're married, you'll understand the importance of fresh produce.
Let's take a look at some of the reasons and a few key examples.
You're a swell dish. I think I'm gonna go for you.
The earliest film about gangsters was The Musketeers of Big Alley in 1912. But the gangster genre wasn't born until the early 30s, with one of the most iconic films of its kind, Little Caesar, with Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah, that's it, all right.
In the first scene, we can see the two main characters robbing a gas station. Right after this, the two characters go to a diner where Rico is having spaghetti and coffee.
Spaghetti and coffee for two. All right, sir.
This scene established the gangster as a vicious character with no conscience. Right after a murder, Rico is only thinking about making it big in the city while eating as if nothing happened. Food also works as a status symbol. The movie Gangster's main characteristic is showing off his high status. This is done with suits,
You're getting up in the world, Rico.
cars, girls, and luxurious food.
Are you gonna eat by any chance?
I'm not hungry. Except for you.
From a story perspective, the genre established the rise and fall narrative from the start. The gangster comes from poverty or war, then through crime rises to the top of the underworld, only to ultimately fall from grace. This was originally due to the limitations of the Hays Code in Hollywood, which aimed to sanitize films with no nudity, sex, profanity, drug use, and among others, no sympathy or justice for criminals. This narrative can be seen all throughout the genre, from the 30s until today. Even Breaking Bad, which can be considered a contemporary gangster show, has the same structure.
You're goddamn right.
And food is a good way to show the rise and fall of the mobster. At the beginning of Goodfellas, the young Henry Hill is looking at the pizzeria outside his windows, where the Cicero family runs their business, wishing to join them one day. Later, he explains how Paulie runs his meetings, learning the ways of the mafia while bringing sandwiches to the gangsters. There's also a connection between food and death. When Billy Betts is killed, the three men goes to Tommy's mother to get a shovel. But the woman wakes up and insists on making them something to eat, and while the other two deal very calmly with the uncomfortable situation, Henry is shown to be disturbed.
Henry, what's the matter? You don't talk too much.
Why don't you talk a little bit? What are you quiet for?
You don't eat much, you don't talk much.
The jail scene is also iconic, where Henry explains how they lived like kings, having feasts of spaghetti and lobsters with whiskey and wine. Finally, at the end of the film, he loses everything, and this is represented again with food.
Can't even get decent food. Right after I got here, I ordered some spaghetti with marinara sauce and I got egg noodles and ketchup. I'm an average nobody.
Maybe you found someone you like better.
Another aspect of the psychology of eating is anxiety and depression.
He's fine.
Dad, you're depressed.
Depressed.
Sopranos is a prime example of this. The show has a staggering amount of scenes with food. For Tony, it's always in the center of his character. He's different from Little Caesar's Rico and other examples I've shown because his eating habits correlate with his psychological state. He's shown to eat unhealthy amounts, but this is his way of dealing with the stress of being a mafia boss. Outside of the psychological aspects, the Italian heritage of the American gangster is also important.
Well, you really have to go to Italy to know, and so many of them don't. Burrito misto, ossobuco.
The culture they bring from there is related to food and family. The members of the organization come together to eat while discussing their business, and sometimes it's even done while having a big family gathering. Some of the most iconic scenes in gangster movies are also related to food. In The Godfather, orange is a symbol of death, and it's shown multiple times throughout the film. But the pivotal scene of the revenge also takes place in a restaurant. And once upon a time in America, the prostitute Peggy makes an offer to the young boys.
You bring me a Charlotte Russe with whipped cream and then you can do anything you like.
Patsy buys the most expensive and beautiful cake for the girl, but eventually eats it while waiting in front of Peggy's door. The hunger that is the main characteristic of gangsters always outweighs sexual desire, even at a young age. On the topic of sexuality, while not an American gangster film, the Japanese movie Tampopo connects food to sensuality through its Yakuza character who is obsessed with food. Maybe a bit too much as well.
Did you just order a $5 shake?
It can be used for comedy purposes as well.
You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Paris?
They don't call it a quarter pounder with cheese?
A Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
That's right.
What do they call a Big Mac?
Big Mac's a Big Mac, but they call it Le Big Mac.
And Pulp Fiction's first scene is also in a diner, similarly to Reservoir Dogs. It's also used for endings. The infamous ending of Sopranos is also taking place in a diner while the family is having dinner.
Enough! I'm so sick and tired of hearing you people talk about food, food, food. That's all anybody ever talks about is prosciutto, cheese, and fucking fava beans. I'm drowning here.
It is clear that Hollywood always used food to show the Italian-American culture and its people, since food is a big part of their heritage. But food isn't just showing the character's cultural identity, it also represents their psychological state, social status, and sometimes it serves as a symbol of the inevitable fall of the gangster.
You hungry?
I could eat.